Sometimes we get questions about using screws with washers on them. And the important thing to keep in mind is that the AutoLock driver is going to hold the head of these screws using ball bearings that come right underneath the head here. We usually tell people you need about 1/4 of an inch clearance for the driver to hold on to it just fine. So if we tried to load this screw into the driver, what we're going to find is basically it will never lock onto it. Here we triggered it, but it can't lock on because that washer's in the way. Okay, versus this one that we've pushed the washer back down on, you can see it locks on, and we are not going to be able to pull that off. So if you're working with screws that have a washer on them, just make sure you have a little bit of a gap. We oftentimes see these washers on roofing screws, and these are meant for wood substrate. They got a sharp point. And this whole pile we just pulled out of a bag, and basically the gap on them is enough that we wouldn't have any issues putting them into the driver. But we did have some shorter stitch screws, and when we pulled those out of the bag, a number of those looked like they were too close. And if we grab one here, we can try it. And it looks like it loaded okay. The outer sleeve came forward, but what we'll find if we pull on it is that it actually couldn't lock quite right. This big of a washer was preventing some of the pieces from coming all the way forward, and the ball bearings couldn't get down in there. So what we did is we just rolled some of the washers a little ways down, and then we can load those right in. So now you can see that you're not going to get that screw off until it's installed. It'll automatically release. So if you have screws where the washers are fairly close up, we would just recommend while you're still at your workbench, basically just roll those washers down. These are a little tough because they're small, they're short stitch screws. They just need a little bit of a gap. Again, we kind of say 1/4 of an inch, then they're going to load just fine. And you can do that all ahead of time. That way when you're up on the roof or on a ladder, you're not screwing around with it. So hopefully that's helpful.